Good afternoon. Welcome to a very special Jen's Awesome show. I have a room full of awesome people yet again, some of whom you might be familiar with, some of whom are newish to me. I've met most of them in person, believe it or not, which is also kind of exciting. And I'd like to start with a round of introductions. And instead of our usual introductions, you have 30 words to make something up about yourself. Corey, you can go first.
Make something up?
Mm-hmm.
Shit. I actually started my career as a corporate sales trainer selling Xeroxes in Toronto.
Dude, that's almost your brother.
Yeah, that's all I had, right? Because I was like, fuck. I realized halfway through, I'm like, dude, this is just my brother. That's lame. That's what you get. Sorry.
All right. Miggy, you're up.
What's up, y'all? I used to once sell Bitcoin as fiat currency. When it came out, I used to sell paper wallets on eBay, and they used to look like $100 bills of with Dr. Evil's face on them, and I'd sell them attached to Bitcoin. So that's actually not made up. That's true. But
I was gonna say
that sounds believable.
But it's the most made up thing I could think of that could be questionable.
Yeah.
But that's me.
All right. Ken, what about you?
Okay, I'm going to try to count. I went all in on crypto in 2016. Been living off of crypto since then. Started playing with NFTs as soon as CryptoKitties came out. And now I'm here.
That works. All right. Jeff, what about you?
Oh, I'm going to be terrible at this. I'm not even going to try and count. Been doing this for 6 years, and I'm not nearly as good at counting as Ken.
Fair enough. All right. What about you, Cheryl?
You got to use your fingers.
Yeah. Now, am I supposed to make something up, or is this real?
I mean, so far we've sucked at making shit up. So
far making stuff up isn't going real well, but I've got a good one. So
Cheryl, tell the truth.
I mean, I can make a lot of stuff up.
Sure, go for it.
Tell the truth about your planet, Cheryl.
We won't get into the pretend stuff like I used to when I was a kid. But reality is that I started getting into it in 2017. One of my clients, when I was tattooing his head, he told me about Bitcoin, and the whole time he was telling me how it would change society, and we're just sitting there tattooing, listening. And while we were tattooing, I took a break and, went on Coinbase, and that's how I got into it. It was one of my clients.
Neat. Thank you. What about you, Russell?
Well, I can ride a unicycle, and I once set a junior world record on jumping on a pogo stick. And neither of those are made up.
I was hoping that was plausibly made up, but this sounds like something you could have pulled off.
When I was 10 years old, I jumped 6,000 times consecutively with a whole bunch of my friends watching, and we sent it into my parents sent it into the Guinness Society, and apparently that broke the junior world record at the time.
I clearly didn't understand the assignment.
That's okay. What about you, Janice?
We all have things that sound made up but are actually true.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're hanging out with the right people, in my humble opinion.
Uh-huh. All right, Janice, you're up.
True, not true. True. I got 5 kids out the door single-handedly and successfully on my own. And I moved into this RV, which I am in full-time.
Love it.
The grandkids think, well, I'm a princess, and this is my castle. and everything is magic. They don't know I control everything from my phone. So if they want the lights to come on, they have to wiggle their nose. So they do this stuff all the time. And then it's who claims victory when the lights go on or the fireplace goes on. So that's my story.
I love it. Well, here's something. This one time, I worked in a cubicle and wore beige.
Whoa.
So basically, you were invisible.
No believers. Yeah, no,
Wow.
no. I'm the one who shows up at the interview saying, "So your dress code, can I wear all orange or rainbows or sparkles?" And yeah, that's how that goes. There's no beige. There has never been. Well, there might have been beige once, but once.
You said that this one time. I thought you were going to follow it up with at band camp.
No, I actually don't play instruments. I cannot. I don't have an ear for music. So Corey plays all these beautiful, wonderful things. He learns by ear. He can read music, and I listen and appreciate. I can dance. I can do rhythm, but I cannot, for the life of me, distinguish notes.
That's what I should have said. I'm a musician who's only ever played stuff that's on paper. I can't read music at all. So that would be
yeah.
I can play just about anything, but I can't read music to save my own life.
That's impressive, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can dance and play rhythms at the same time, but I don't do notes. So that's, I guess, my claim to fame. On that note, let's get started. So we are here in a room. There was some interesting news last week from the people at Mojang about the NFTs and the metaverse and all that. So I would like to go around the room one at a time here and start, I guess, at the beginning. In your own words, what is the most important thing to you about the metaverse? Not specifically necessarily the Uplift metaverse, but the metaverse. And I'm going to start with Miggy.
Well, for me, I guess one of the biggest things that I've always and still consider to be the most important part, of what is happening in this space and what people are considering metaverse is to be just a level of inclusion that's going to be enabled for people who can't be physically in spaces with other people. Like whether they're physical handicap or some type of autism that prevents them from being around people in an actual public space. I think that for me is the most important factor is using a space like this to be able to include everybody and leave it optional so that way people can participate if they want to and not necessarily have to force them into something. But for me, that is what I think is going to be the most important thing is that's what I see happening is we're going to open doors to inclusion that are going to be able to allow people to hang out in groups like this, and participate in ways that they couldn't before. And so, an opportunity for those to actually have friends and be in engagements and in events and whatever.
I like that. All right. What about you, Janice? What is the metaverse to you?
Just endless possibilities to teach others. And I really like what Miguel said about anybody with disabilities. That is very true because there's a lot of people who are afraid, who don't want to get out and be around people. There are so many options and possibilities in the space, and especially for what we're trying to build in the metaverse, and to educate and have even schools, homeschooling, attorneys, law firms. Everybody is looking for these meeting spaces, but for people to be able to take advantage of and get educated to be part of it if they're interested. So there's just so much that they can do.
I would agree. Ken, what's the metaverse to you?
Well, I mean, we don't really have much true metaverse right now. There's a lot of like new generation open world gameplay, but there's not really a way to go from like one universe to another universe, saying like Call of Duty to Fortnite, or even from operating systems, say like iPhone, Android. iMessage is still like centralized to that universe. So right now we have games that are open world, calling themselves metaverses, until you can go from game to game outside of that centralized ecosystem, at least with cosmetics or anything. I don't think we're there yet. So I'm looking forward to that. When it comes to metaverse, what it means to me is playing, Call of Duty with, my character, whether it be like, in a skin or with a in-game item like a weapon, and go to another game like Fortnite with the same items, and be able to go from universe to universe, say game to game or platform to platform. We don't even really have much blockchain and interoperability. It's centralized to either an Ethereum, multiverse, they call it a metaverse, but it's like a multiverse. That's what they mean. And so you can jump around like that. I don't, we're not there, but that's what I'm excited to see, what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. And I think it's eventual. I think that's the destination.
I think the standard will be developed eventually, right? That's what we need as a standard.
Absolutely. What about you, Russell? What's the metaverse to you?
Well, I would say that from the beginning of blockchain, an underlying theme throughout everything has been about empowerment and giving power back to the individual. And Bitcoin was really the first asset, the first thing that allowed me to have full control over my wealth for the first time in my life, and gave me complete ownership and the ability, the freedom to do what I want with my money, which had never existed before. DeFi, of course, exists now. Now with NFTs, we have empowering artists and creatives, and anybody that creates any content, and now even gamers have power, like Ken said, to take the assets, all the work that they put into a game. They now have objective value built up that they can take with them out of the game. And now with DAOs, it's going even further. So this whole idea of democratization of power, taking it out of the hands of the few and giving it to the many, I think to me, and the metaverse just takes that even one step further. So it's that's what's most exciting for me.
Awesome. Thank you. And I have Mike Smart here in the audio. Mike, what is the metaverse to you?
The metaverse to me is my saving grace. I mean, I'm a single dad of 2 girls, and it's very difficult to navigate this world, and run a business at the same time. And the metaverse opened up basically a duplication of the planet, minus all of the, gravity and things that get in the way. And I'm able to conduct business on a massive scale from my home, as well as homeschool my kids, which is why I'm on audio right now. So the metaverse is a huge opportunity for not only myself, but for many other businesses and single parents and whatnot, to be able to have a global impact from the place they stand.
I like that. That makes sense. What about you, Cheryl? What's the metaverse to you? Oh dear, you're muted.
Can you hear me? I think it's the opportunity for freedom, and it depends on how you want to look at that. I look at it as a network opportunity where you could bring everyone together and have one huge network, which allows you the freedom of speaking the way you want to speak, having platforms where you have a home, where you don't have to worry about going from platform to platform. You have the freedom that if you're locked down again, you have the freedom to, if you have a product, you could sell it in the metaverse. I just think that there's a lot of opportunities to have a business, or even to take the current business and try to see, well, how can I work that business out in the metaverse. So to me, it gives a lot of opportunities, like even talking about Jeff, like Coin Leader, he has like a nice platform, and for him and others like it, it would give him the ability to maybe do classes, to do different type of events that maybe he wouldn't normally have to do. I heard he has a cool show coming up with Divvy Daddy. If he does, wow, maybe he has the opportunity to be somewhere where he's not competing with 100 or 1,000,000 other podcasts. Maybe it's just an opportunity to create something. So to me, it's freedom to create whatever you want, and just hopefully over time the technology will get better and more people will see the advantages of it.
That makes sense too. What about you, Jeff? What do you see the metaverse as?
I think it's a lot of what a lot of people already said, but I think it's really overcoming limitations. It's like we're all limited. It's a fractured world we've all experienced the last couple of years. We can't get together how we want. We can't communicate how we want. There's all these different platforms everybody talks to. But as Ken pointed out, once you get to some standardization where we understand how everything comes together and connects, then those limits go away. You remove the limit of your location. You can go anywhere. The limitations of physics or how we normally interact, that's gone too. So it's only limited by your imagination at that point. So once everybody starts to understand it and experience it, and everybody understands how to navigate it, and we get to that evolution, that's how technology comes on the scene. In a couple of years, it's just goes in 100 different directions, and it gets to be some standardization, and everybody starts to figure out how to play together. But that's really what it's about: overcoming both physical and technology limitations, and then the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Corey, now that you've had a chance to listen to everybody, what's the metaverse to you?
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying, Jeff, about especially when we were kind of all locked in. That's how the Uplift started, right? Like we had the Uplift server. It was just a Minecraft server open, and we were actually, interestingly enough, we just opened it up because we wanted to test out different ways to do podcasts. That was it. Somebody comes in and puts a gratitude up on a little wooden wall, and kind of cracked my brain open, and we built the first sort of cathedral, and then the pandemic hit and everybody's locked in their houses, and suddenly we're getting everybody together every weekend to watch a sunrise inside this video game, and we all put gratitudes up on the wall, and I walked there, I hung out there this morning, and I think that's the thing that I can't let go, right? There's going to be a lot of experience worlds where you go in like a video game and you don't get to change anything, but you get to experience that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, the video game industry, like the movie industry, like that experience thing, people are making like really beautiful things. Like the blockchain virtual, Russell, like that thing with the freaking mushrooms and stuff, like just it's holy shit, Stan, awesome, right? Where we're focusing on Uplift, and I was really pondering the ramifications of this long term, is that that's kind of like a read metaverse, right? And we're doing read right. We get to encode our history, not only in the buildings, but in the gratitudes that we put down, and the fact that we can do that, with friends, with family. To me, that is actually sacred, and this is going to be around for a long time, right? I think. Now we're getting to this point in the internet where nothing will ever be forgotten ever again. Everything is now remembered, right? And that means that every action that we do, every gratitude monument that we put up, every building that we make, every time we do a fishing derby, like all this stuff, it's all remembered now. And it feels like a really sacred thing that we get to do. I can't shake that feeling. And it's where we get to come together, and everything you guys said about it is also true, right? Like getting to actual Ready Player One is where you have to be able to go from, one game to one shop to one event to one whatever as the same thing, right? Like, whether it's a Void avatar or whether it's like a future Uplift avatar, or, the Rebellion ones that they're going to start making down the road, they're like hyper realistic or whatever, like that's where it's all headed for sure. That.
Yeah, all of that. All right. So back to Jeff then. Where do you see blockchain fitting in terms of helping to sort of spur or springboard this interoperability?
Well, it goes back to standardization. I mean, blockchain is just the technology. It's like just I always like, I tell people what the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain is like and Bitcoin is like the killer app on your phone, and the blockchain is your operating system. So we all need a strong operating system on your phone, just that the first killer app. So we've got all these apps that are coming out. We have all these different metaverses that are coming out. But when we get to that point where we standardize on how they all come together in that blockchain, the blockchain is a great record, and it's a great way to keep our history and going forward, because it's immutable. It's always going to be there. And then it keeps everybody honest in a trustless world that we all want. But you got to get those standards going too. So the blockchain is just going to facilitate that. And the fact that, once we get to a common platform, and like, if it's just like people can build much easier, and just when the technology barriers are lowered so that the creativity can rise and people can just like slap things together that they envision in their mind, that's where it's really, things like this are really going to take off.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Jen, sorry, I gotta break in here. Did you see the new DALL-E 2 image engine that came out?
No.
All right, so like the night cafe thing I've been messing around with, and you could like put in a phrase and it'll like give you a picture, and it kind of renders images and then test them out in iterations, whatever, right? So the new DALL-E 2 one, you give it images and it looks like somebody fucking photoshopped something together. Like it's really like, it's not like abstract shapes, it's things. It's and they get blended all together. I started thinking like it's only a matter of time before that technology is it's all like text based, right? So you put in like this text based thing, like I want some teddy bears with some computers on the moon, right? And it's literally like make that. I think it's only a matter of time before we're doing that in 3 dimensions, right? So you're basically able to, and like within like a couple of years, maybe 3, right? Where you're walking through the uplift, and you're basically saying like, I want a castle. No, not like that. Like make it retro, whatever, right? Like, and it'll start, piecing things together with that random seed in, right? And I think before too long, we're actually going to see this, where the AIs that we're training will actually be us that's training them. So it'll actually understand your choices and then pre-design things that way. So, to Jeff's point, it's going to get to the point where we will be self-generating worlds coupled with AI in like next to real time, right? And that's just going to be like, if you've never taken any hallucinogenic drugs, don't worry about it, because they're coming for you anyway.
To build on what Corey just said, I think that, can you imagine waking up one day and just say, I just had this dream, and you just go right into the metaverse and create what your vision was.
Right? You just start talking about it, and the AI's like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Okay. I can
all
afford with that.
Future people. Seriously.
Yes. All right.
Anyway,
So, Russell.
Yeah, this is kind of what we were talking about in New York, with even because it can extend into all computer programming, natural language programming. You don't need to know any computer language. You just sit there and describe what it is you want the AI to build, and it'll program on the back end. So you can build anything you want.
It's coming.
It's coming for us. Is there a particular programming language or platform or blockchain or something we should be looking toward that will be sort of spearheading all of that? Or is it coming at us from many different places all at once?
It's a great question. And I don't think that anybody could really answer that question today accurately without really anything beyond a glorified guess. And that's kind of the cool thing, that we're in this place and we're working with the technology that is, we know it's going to change the world over the next 5, 10, 15 years, but we don't know how. And it's like sitting in 2000, and I knew that the internet was going to change everything, but I couldn't imagine things like Uber and Airbnb or the ubiquity of cell phones. And look where we are today. So it could be a brand new blockchain that hasn't even been developed yet that'll lead the way. I mean, it's just, there's so much uncertainty, and it's a little scary, but it's also exciting. And I think that's why we're all where we are.
I love it. Cheryl, you were talking a bit about metaverse and education, and how can that benefit from the inclusion of AI?
I don't know that much about how it would benefit from AI. I know in general that it would benefit by having something available for parents right now that are all frustrated because they're not wanting to send their kids to private schools or public schools or anything, that they just want to get in with a good group and have the resources to educate their people and homeschool them. And I don't know what type of AI is required, but I think that there's so many people out there that if they could feel as though there's a group there and people there and feel connected, that a lot more people would participate in the homeschooling.
Cheryl, can I throw out an idea to you?
Mm-hmm.
What if, like, I used to coach kids, and I used to pick up on key words, like, I need to see that again, or can you tell me that again? Like repetition, visual, audio. If AI can start to pick up on words that people say or how they describe how they like to learn, the AI could learn and steer the education in a way that would be bettering the kids' education experience. Could you see it going that way?
I could see it going in all different directions, really. I could see that it could be so advanced that a kid could think about what he wants to learn and then be able to have AI put them in the right course or the right environment. I think it could just be unlimited.
So 5 years from now, it's going to be interesting. 10 years from now, every single kid is going to have its own AI and it's programming it, right? And that AI will have the knowledge of every best teacher that's ever existed. Will know the best way that the best people have ever learned and be mapping independently, because they're already doing this, like self-directed learning, right? Like the Montessori type stuff. The self-directed learning works. It works the best. Everybody knows this already. Like this is not debatable anymore, right? So you have an AI that's doing that, but then that AI is going to learn as fast or faster with every single interaction with every single kid, right? It's like the whole reason why self-driving cars are getting better so much faster is that it's not, a million self-driving cars. It's one, right? They upload every single new situation every single time, and that goes into the amalgam that is the self-driving car software, right? So like every single AI teacher is going to be able to get better at teaching that particular kid, which is going to be amazing. But it's also, because of that, going to get better at teaching them all. And like, the absolute best education you can get on earth will be free on a phone in 10 years or less.
Yeah, AI would probably just make an app for that and gamify education in a way that subliminally educates you in different ways using lore or in-game actions or challenges and achievements in the game. And it's like taking your SATs or something, like a boss battle. You don't even realize you're learning algebra, geometry, or it's subtly because AI figured out how to gamify education in a way that it engages kids to accidentally learn.
I think that's closer than a lot of people could imagine. Because like all the pieces are already on the shelf, right? Which is always the fascinating bit, right? Like the language engines already work, right? The apps that actually do that education already work. The system for self-directed learning already exists, right? The ability to generate worlds and games in real time is one of the only steps that doesn't exist, but that's probably not that far behind, right? Like that's just a few more pieces. It's just a couple more lines of code in the complexity, and then it can kind of run through it. Yeah, it's gonna get fucked up. But I honestly if it's not coming through, I'm really, really optimistic about it. I think it's gonna be really, really amazing. Now, Russell, you remember what we were talking about? Because Russell invited me down to this Singularity.net event, and thank you so much for doing that. Like these guys, we're talking about it. These guys are actually building the shit. Like it was, I knew they were doing some pretty crazy stuff, with the Sophia the robot and like all the whatever. Fine, now that's all fun, but they're building the stuff that will completely end work as we know it, which is like a whole other layer, right? Like, and it's just like, oh, we're just gonna take an employee and make a knowledge graph out of it, and then people can access that knowledge graph later, and the employee will get paid a little bit for it. Yeah, cool, but why would I hire anyone else if that knowledge graph could do that knowledge work, right? So one by one, every knowledge job goes away.
Yeah, there's some estimates. I think that something like 80% of all jobs will be gone by 2050, and the people that will work are going to be the people that are passionate about what they want to do. You know, if you love being a surgeon and you want to be there could be robot surgeons that'll do the job better, but maybe you can, you know, you have a place for you. Or if you like to drive cars, if you like to fly planes, like there's going to be things that people are passionate about, they'll continue doing, but it won't be out of necessity. And like we said, I mean, there's going to have to be a real paradigm shift in how we look at you know, universal basic income as an example, because if nobody's working, you still need to eat, you still need to live somewhere and have clothes, so you got to get money from somewhere. But it's going to be very interesting.
So this is an open question then for anybody who feels the need to answer or has some information here, thoughts and insights. How would that affect accessibility? Because we spend, or if we don't, we should be spending time thinking about how to make the world around us more accessible to people who may have various challenges. If we have a universal basic income, if the knowledge-based jobs are taken care of by the AI, how does that affect the not only the argument for accessibility, but the going forward with passion projects with accessibility in mind?
I'm not sure I understood.
That's okay.
It was quite a loaded question.
I hear a lot of crickets. Because I'm not 100% sure on this either. If the AI helps me learn in the way that I learn best, and maybe the way I learn best has a lot of challenges associated with it, but then all the knowledge-based jobs go away, how does that eventually impact me doing a thing that
I think there's a lot of oversimplification in that question, and that's why
Maybe.
I'm confused by it. So I'm dead set against UBI, because I think that puts a control into the powers that be, and we don't want that. But what we do want is we do want to free up the people to be creative, to express themselves. So they're not with the day-to-day burden that people have. They have to work 2-3 jobs to make ends meet. That's a good thing. But the bad thing is you don't want to give away your freedom. You should be earning your freedom from what these tools should give us back, our freedom of our time. That's ultimately the most expendable resource, the thing we can't get back. But we don't want to give up the control of our freedom through UBI. So I think that giving people more time to pursue what their passions are, rather than having all the burdens of everyday modern living that they have to deal with, that's what we should be striving for. Not necessarily I think the inclusion will naturally happen, because there'll be enough people that are passionate about those things that those things will happen, because all the other things that are mundane or things that they just have to worry about on a day-to-day basis, a lot of them might go away.
Okay.
Right. I've been trying to tell everybody we're segueing into a play to earn economy 100%. I mean, if the robots are doing the fast food jobs and the AIs are doing the thinking, we're just going to be playing. And universal basic income, as it pertains to like a government distributed resource, is a bad thing in my opinion as well. However, universal basic income based on algorithms through DeFi that's, set out by communities of people who actually, are trying to empower the people involved in who are receiving this universal basic income. Therefore there could be still specific activities necessary for people to receive it, but they don't have to go clock in somewhere and do some monotonous work in order to accomplish that. They can cut the head off a dragon in a video game and pay their bills.
I think it goes even farther in the.
If the uplift is running literally everything and owns the AIs that own everything, you're right, that'll happen. Right? If not, then it's going to be 3 companies that own literally everything, and they're not going to care about you at all. There will be no incentive whatsoever to put something into a game. I'm doing that because I believe in UBI, and this is the only way I can do it. Right? Like if it's if it's not governments, like Amazon's not going to start UBI so people can keep buying stuff. It doesn't have to. It's entirely okay for you to be entirely poor forever.
Well, if AI gets to a point like that where monotonous jobs are being taken care of, I think it gets to a create or consume kind of ecosystem, whether you're creating content, whether music or creating graphic art, or you're consuming watching YouTube videos, and like Mike said, earning through things that are similar to like basic attention token.
Right. Well, and so I guess the question is, because I agree with the sentiment, and honestly, I want to build stuff like that, right? That's what we're doing right now. What's the incentive for? I mean, the big worry for me, assuming that OpenAI doesn't make artificial intelligence entirely ubiquitous for literally everyone, so everyone kind of has access to it equally, right? Assuming that doesn't happen, then it really will be a very few companies that gather all of those trillions of dollars of wealth that comes from all those jobs going away to themselves. Capitalism demands it, right? So who's paying for the art? Them? Right? Because like all of the money is going to get centralized in a way we've never seen before. So it's not just a thing where like basic attention token can get people to come back in, right? It's I don't know. And again, like I guess there's a possibility that we could see the biggest corporations the universe has ever seen suddenly become sort of getting some enlightened self-interest, maybe, but like only enough to keep the system working. Whereas the government UBI flattens out the entire thing. We're not giving up any freedom. We're getting it. Right? Like, and everybody gets the same.
UBI is like a minimum standard, like a baseline. Just think of it like a welfare program. But remember what money is for. Money is an exchange of value. So if people aren't doing mundane tasks, people will be freed up to create value in other ways they can exchange for money in that new system, which we don't know what that's going to be yet.
So I totally agree. But if we create that baseline of floor, right, then everybody is, you've got, enough so that you can go out and do interesting stuff or not. You don't have to, right? But the vast majority of people would, right?
What we're describing is an environment in which money or currency doesn't fit. It may not even exist or be relevant as a concept when this moment occurs. It may become obsolete ideology by that point. And then, in God we trust, and what on the dollar, you know what I mean? Like, that's funny. Look at those cavemen things they used to use back then. Like, it may just not be a thing because we have elevated past that belief system. And then it may involve a moment in consciousness shift around gluttony. If people could just get over hoarding of rare resources or scarcity of resources, and hoarding it, that concept can go once that mentality goes with it. So it's just a chicken and the egg thing. Do we get to a point where AI gives us too much time that we can't handle it? We don't know what we just start raiding, we start looting for nothing because we don't got nothing to do, or do we just kind of just go about our day because whatever? And people genuinely get their rocks off, cutting lawns, or people like really like fixing people's teeth. It's just like an itch they kind of got to scratch. People may just do that shit, and their value system it's just that I can sleep good at night because I did that thing. I scratched that itch today. Self-worth, self-value.
Even now, like the regardless of how the system breaks down, anybody that ever asked me like, how do you deal with this and how do you prepare for it? Just be really awesome at learning and try and get into the things that only human beings can do. Right. And that really might be like, driving, I think driving on a highway inside 5-10 years, for humans is going to be illegal. But there's going to be roads where you're like that are, the Sea to Sky Highway, for example. They'll probably leave that for human drivers. Right. And you'll be able to go and do that or create experiences around it, maybe. Right. Because like nobody drives anymore, and you can create an AI experience of like driving a badass car down a highway that's just like, one of the best in the world or whatever. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting anyway.
It's so funny that you say that, because I was talking about that with somebody the other day, that in 20 years a driver's license will be the way a pilot's license is today, like only held by a few people that are really passionate, are enthusiasts of, and that's a hobby, and so they go out on the weekend. And the same thing, you can have a manually driven car, from today or whatever, and go out on the weekend to a closed track. But you're right, on the highway, on general roads, it will not be legal.
And good, because we won't have to do anything, and you'll be able to drive 600 miles an hour.
Yeah, I see benefits to that. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm from a very I am from a very unpopulated place. The traffic in New York was terrifying. We can't say I don't get out. I have traveled all over the world, but I have never been that terrified to be in a vehicle in my life. So it was an experience. I would be thrilled if I never had to think about that again. Honestly.
Yeah, I used to deliver liquor from New Jersey to New York, and I was like, I'd have to get in and out of the truck and do the delivery because you can't leave your truck as a driver in New York. And the roads they'd have to go down, the mirrors would be like centimeters apart on both sides, and I'm just like, yeah. I was like, New York streets give me flashbacks.
Yeah, and it seemed a lot like the lanes were kind of optional. So I like order and safety and space, lots of space. But stepping from this then, just to give examples, I'll start with Mike. What's something that you are so passionate about that you would just do it because it's a thing you love to do that other people would benefit from in some way, shape, or form?
Botany.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love planting trees and plants and flowers and like just bringing life inwards. Like I live in the middle of the ghetto up on a 3rd-story apartment, and there's nothing but life popping out. I've got fig trees up there, 2 fig trees on my back porch that I made myself by just cutting pieces off of a fig tree and then rooting them. And I'm obsessed. If I could do that as much as I could talk about NFTs like all day long.
Love it.
That's cool.
What about you, Janice? What's one thing you are so passionate about that you would just do it?
I love the water. I could just go into the ocean and just forever. That's just something. I love the water, the trees, the mountains also, just the natural beauty. But here in our space, Cheryl and I would consider we're both visionaries here. And what's cool about that is I think everybody in our space, in our community, are pretty like-minded. And we're just really passionate about the possibilities of where we all are together here, because we all bring something different to the table.
Yeah, I like that. You need somebody to gather all of that in one place, and then good things happen. What about you, Russell? What are you absolutely passionate about that you'd do if nobody paid you?
I'm trying to pay it forward with education, and that's always been, helping to facilitate mass adoption has always been an underlying motivation for me in everything I've done in blockchain. And without motivation, without education, we will never get to true mass adoption. So that's a really critical component. And I think back to December of 2019 when Kenn and I had a nice conversation for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. And he gave me, he was my Sherpa into the world of NFTs. And, I got off the phone with him and jumped into Nifty Gateway and jumped into NBA Top Shot and jumped into OpenSea and jumped into Atomic Hub. And the rest is history. So I think we all have that kind of story. We all have somebody that kind of helped us in. And, this is just such an incredible place to be personally, professionally. And so I want to see as many people as possible, have NFT in their hands for metaphorically at least. And so, I always, I get people reaching out to me on social media, old acquaintances, friends, people I used to work with, and they see that I'm into this space and they ask me for help, and I'm always willing to give it because I think it'll come back around many times more.
Awesome. We definitely need some of that going around. What about you, Miggy? What are you the most passionate about? Something you would do if nobody paid you because you just love it?
It's hard to say. There's a lot of things that I like to do, but I think to sum it up, it'd probably just be, whatever means to being like in service of other people, you know, in various ways, because that's often what I find myself really being pulled towards the most. You know, it doesn't matter what it necessarily is, as long as I can, you know, help be of service in some kind of way. That's usually what I gear towards. So like learning about things is usually my go-to, because being able to teach people about what I know is always been my go-to as far as like being there. But I was a server and a bartender for a long time, and as much as I would like to not have to do that job in a restaurant and do it for money, just the concept of being able to provide things for people that they need and connect them to, you know, resources and stuff that they need, and just being there, you know, is something that, you know, I do willingly, and it's what's really enabled me in this space, is to really just be able to provide for people and not ask for a lot of money or any money, you know, to do it because I could.
I like that. You need some more of that too. What about you, Ken? Money is no object. What is your passion?
Porn.
Okay. And how does that serve the greater good of humanity?
Entertainment, I guess, honestly, like, you know, just probably dabble in comedy, obviously. But no, I like talking to people. Everyone was just being so sincere. I had to say something, right? Like, I felt the pressure, so
Ken.
whatever.
That's so good.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
But no, I mean, honestly, I kind of already, you know, get to do that with the podcast. You know, I just like talking to people. Yeah, something like in that format of, you know, podcasts, entertaining. I'd probably dabble in comedy. You know, if, you know, maybe it would be a thing. But yeah, just talking to people.
Love it. What about you, Jeff? What is your absolute biggest passion?
Well, I could borrow a lot from Russell, and maybe half a can. We'll leave the porn part out. But you know, I've been educating for a long time, and I'll go in a little bit different direction because I used to play semi-pro sports. So I coached a lot, taught a lot of kids that way, and I always found like I give them a takeaway, a life lesson, something in sports. So I would be a lot into either like a player coach or just playing. I still do softball and competitive. There's so much you can learn from the competitive nature of sports, winning and losing, life lessons, and I would probably do that even more.
Awesome. What about you, Corey? What is your passion these days?
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I figured you'd say that.
Yep.
But for anyone who doesn't know, what is that? What is it?
Having the opportunity, the chance to build what could become, you know, a cornerstone of the metaverse that's coming is one of the deepest honors of my life. And, you know, the team that has grown up around it, I mean, it's not like would I do it for free? It's like would I dump every single resource that I have ever had into it? And that's where I'm at. And, you know, we might get paid down the road. We might not. And I still have to do it. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Word. I feel
Love
it.
it. Yeah, I'm
Corey, I
here
think
for
you're
that.
too modest, actually. If you think back to, like, I was kind of thinking about this the other day, like, over the last year and a half, like from the start of 2020 until today, or start of 2021, let's say, you know, when you think of all, like, you launched Uplift, and then you, like, the Yoshi drops. I mean, you sold like 1 million NFTs for $1 each, but still, that's insane. And then you know, now with Ethereum, like, just all these things.
Blue Deck.
It's really remarkable.
I mean, Blue Deck is tough to take as a win, but we learned a lot of really fun lessons. It's definitely out there, and still works. Woohoo! Yeah, no, it's been a lot. I mean, and you know, learning the lessons of you know, well, being really, really selective with who you interface in the Web 2 world because the incentive structure creates monsters has been a massive lesson. And really like how like I was kind of more just around for this, but you know, the fact that we chose to turn the Uplift into a DAO and the way that it's moving forward is fucking working. And that's mostly to do with Tuttle. Like Tuttle had a vision for how a DAO could, you know, not only works against like one token, one vote, right? but where she's empowering people with no DAO tokens at all to be like super active members of the communities or to the committees and do work and bring passion to the whole thing. So you're just kind of working backwards from trying to capture as much of that passion and creativity that our community like really obviously has into the actual kind of business structure itself. I think she's crushed it. So like that, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot going on, and that's not allowed to go away. Like that, we need more iterations to expand. And honestly, like I'm grateful that Minecraft tried to kick us in the balls. For anyone that doesn't know this yet, we actually don't apply for their ban. You're not supposed to build anything with Web3 into their client. We have actually never done that, right? We have a server that sits between the two. So we're not on their cranky little anti-NFT ban list. Granted, we didn't quite get that initially, so we immediately was like, okay, well, we can pivot. And the network of NFTs and the network of NFT owners is the uplift, because we can go anywhere, right? Between that and the object files of the worlds, we can go anywhere. And we already have like 5 different possibilities to expand out, and we probably wouldn't be running and gunning towards them as aggressively as we are now if they hadn't done this, right? So like, we're going to be fine on Minecraft for a while. Like, keep building, keep buying land if you want to. We're going to have a full port to something else, at least one something else, probably asininely soon. And that we're going to own, right? And then like, there's like the doors come off this thing, then we light the fires and kick the tires, because like suddenly like actually integrating avatars into whatever the client that we own, totally done. We can do those like crazy, because we're going to be able to own and rebuild the client at will. And then world DAOs and it's gonna like, it's super exciting, and we would probably just be kind of still we had a long list of things we were going to do on top of the Minecraft client still. And now, like, fuck them. We're gonna use it until we have something better lined up, and that's gonna be this year, and maybe like soon, which is nuts. And the whole community's just gone batshit crazy to build it.
Right. The beautiful part about it is that we have access, as like just the whole conglomerate of communities. We have access to most of the highly skilled devs in the space, hundreds of them. We've got consultants through the Bitcoin consultants worldwide, as well as influencers and more people. We've got sales pitches and sales flows to onboard massive amounts of people. Anybody like Minecraft who is trying to push communities like this out are very confused about the future.
Good, right? Like, the last thing we need is for Microsoft to make more money.
Yeah.
Amen. Right. And it was worth it for us initially, right? Like I was talking to a few people in the community about this today, because we really want to start, I was saying we can work on kind of the grander vision that has always been, at the bottom of everything that I've been thinking about this. Because every time people get really excited about, Minecraft, very often I would remind them, like, the metaverse part of this is more important than Minecraft. Yeah, but I'm playing Minecraft. Cool. Just wait, you'll see, right? Minecraft is going to be, and the Minecraft gameplay, which we're still going to have something like it, when we get to the next platform, is great. It's one game, right? One game where what we're building is all the games, right? And all what's coming next from social media and in 4 dimensions, right? And Shopify in 4 dimensions, and community in small cities and city states and cul-de-sacs and all this shit, right? So yeah, I'm super grateful. It's we're getting kicked from caterpillar to butterfly, and it was super important. Like, we needed to speed up how quickly we were running iterations anyway, so that we could evolve faster. So fuck them in the face.
Yeah, I think they'll be redacting that ban, if not at least
totally agree.
Statement.
I think they will too.
They're gonna change it whenever they have a little bit more control over what they can do, I imagine, because it's such a big opportunity. And I think their biggest concern is the cash grabs in the NFT gaming space in general.
That's what I mean. They're gonna come out with some kind
a lot of
POS
it's bullshit.
for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think whatever they do, whenever they figure it out, it might help out in the overall, because a lot of nonsense you see is very gated, is very hard to get in, is all about profiting and making money. And so once a lot of that starts to change and more games come out where it's like, hey, you know what? No, we're actually about like games and community and having fun. It's just a bonus that you can, own your assets and make money if you want. Like I think stuff like that will help, but screw those guys right now.
Yeah.
And no, still, like, I have to really be grateful for them anyway, because of how open they made it, with the Java edition and everything else. Like, that's how we got our start. Like, and I wish we kind of had seen something like Mind Test back then, right? And I don't know if it would have been developed enough or whatever. But we've done really, really amazing things, and their stumble here is only going to benefit us. And honestly, like, I was worried it was going to slow us down, and I actually think it sped us up.
I'm excited about it. I see it as a huge opportunity, not only to develop something that meets the expectations that a lot of us just talked about at the beginning of the show, eventually, but also to take the opportunity and find out more from the community, from everybody, what those expectations are, what it entails to get there, and how we can better serve the expectations now with what we have while we're working on it. Because I think even if I look at something as simple as Web 2, which is not really that simple, there's a lot of potential to integrate a lot of things if we approach it right and if we know what needs we're trying to serve. So my passion is listening and figuring that out. I'm all ears. And when I hear things like what I've heard today, this has been absolutely wonderful. Now I want to go and build things. And I am not a dev, but I don't know, is this a good time to learn coding? Maybe it's a good time to learn coding, especially if we're on a new platform. Can I do that? Maybe. So that's kind of where I'm at. There are many, many opportunities. And I'm grateful to have everyone in this room along with me for the ride. Absolutely.
We appreciate you guys. A lot of growing pains. A lot of growing pains, but we're together here. So
yep.
Amen to that.
Absolutely. On that note, does anyone have anything to add before we all take off here?
I wanted to hammer down on the inclusivity aspect of the metaverse and the fact that there's a lot of people running around, especially after this insane amount of pressure on people's emotional stability. There's a lot of insecurities and a lot of unfortunate and unnecessary judgments that are involved in traditional communications between human beings. And the metaverse helps with opening people's perspective up to being able to love somebody without judging them for what they look like, because they may just be a chicken or a unicorn. It's like, and like Ken, he's a unicorn in real life. But yeah, so that's what I love about it as well, because I don't really like the face-to-face if you can't tell. So the metaverse is my best friend.
Yeah, I love it.
But we're excited, and in regards to the Bitcoin consultants, we are branching off there and picking another group of people just to focus on the metaverse and getting people in it. We're working with Mike. I just think that any consultant or anyone out there that's interested, give us a call, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to educate them and just have specific guides and consultants that just will work with people, and we'll do the training. Mike actually will do the training for it. So that's what we want to do. Anything we can to get people educated, getting people in there, show them how the metaverse could, work for them. What advantage? So that's education, because right now people don't understand it that much. Even me, not too long ago. And now it's like, once you start seeing what's out there and opportunities, it's great.
I have to agree. And I think that understanding is a big thing. And the more we talk about what is the metaverse, what is the metaverse, what are we building, what is it, what does it mean to me, what does it mean to you,
and what's it good for?
What's it good for? What are we using it for? Why is it even here? The more we talk about that and iterate and think about it and come back to the same thoughts on repeat or different new ones, the better able we are to share that with everyone in a way that they'll understand. And
we're
that's
so excited. Yeah, we're so excited with Bitcoin Consultants Worldwide and our partnership with Corey, with you guys, Uplift, and with Mike, Meta Builders, Brian Christensen with Block Cities, and there's just endless possibilities, and we have such a great team.
Yeah, and we want to highlight everyone there, like even Jeff and Ken, anyone here. We have a lot of land. We got 30 blocks, I believe, 32. We want to use all that to kind of highlight people and give anyone that wants to a presence. So we want to use this land that we have as an opportunity for whether it's education, art, anything we want it.
Yeah, basically, if you go to kind of north central Etheria, that's them, all of it.
Yep.
They got an awesome block out there. It worked really well.
Huge underground. We want the biggest underground marketplace. So we just want it. We're giving it as an opportunity for people to do something with people in this room. You know, we want them represented. If they want to do any type of events or projects, let us know. Alexander's not here, but he's great, you know, in regards to the possibilities. Mike, we just want to have it as an opportunity that everybody could use.
And we own the entire mushroom forest, guys. So there's a lot that we have planned. So look for the mushroom forest.
And let's do some cool things there. You know, you got the land. It's here for you. Let's do something with it.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. This has been great. There's been some good discussion, lots to think about. And hopefully I'll see everybody again in the near future here. It would be fun to gather again in, say, a month's time and have the same conversation and see what's changed. Our feelings, our thoughts, reality, what have we built, all of that.
Metaverse be with you.
And also with you. And on that note.